An eclectic approach to personality theory. What is personality? The word personality derives from the Latin word persona, which means mask. And not just any mask, but a theoretical mask. It is part of the show or the role that we play for ourselves and those around us. Our personalities are comprised of the qualities or the characteristics that make us different and what makes us like other people. Everyone has traits or behaviors, idiosyncrasies, temperaments, and or a level of intelligence that defines each of our unique personalities. When we need to explain the theories of personality and how they fit into the world of psychology, first we need to ask ourselves one question. What is a theory? Even the term theory is difficult to define. The dictionary defines it as a group of scientifically acceptable principles or ideas offered to explain something. Even with this definition, there are many terms that can still leave a person with questions. Theories are plausible, and that implies could not be, but there is still a possibility that it could be. Think of the possibilities. So why personality and why the study of it? It's the could be is what makes psychology a scientific field of study. For the sake of wanting to help people, first we try to understand them. And for the sake of helping people, we also try to understand ourselves. Who am I? Who are the others around me? How did I become who I am? What do others think of me? What do I think of others? This continued line of questioning leads a person to contemplate one of life's greatest mysteries. These questions lead to finding relation and reason in the answers. The nature of our very beings, the unique bundle of traits and characteristics that make us who we are, is what we call a personality. Despite the abstractness of the study of personality, it is still important. Discovering even some hints into what develops a personality is important. It's important in the rearing of children, accomplishing our own personal goals, and helping people in times of distress. Types of personality theories. Psychodynamic theories. The theorists in this category were Freud, Adler, Jung, Klein, Horney, Erikson, and Fromm. Their focus was on early childhood experiences, also conflict of conscious and unconscious, and they used many dreams to understand people's development. Humanistic existential theories, also known as positive psychology. These see the focus of the personality developing from the drive or an innate search of meaning in life. The theorists in this category were Maslow, Rogers, and May. Dispositional theories. The theorists in this category were Allport, McCrae, and Costa. They focused on dominant traits, the dominant traits of each individual and like the essence of who they are from the time of birth. Biological evolutionary theories. The theorists in this were Eisnick and Buce. Their focus was on genetics, neurological factors and systems, and how those systems and genetics interact with nature and their environments. Learning or social cognitive theories. The theorists in this category were Skinner, Bandura, Rotter, Mischel, and Kelly. Their focus was on traits or learned behaviors that were either developed by reinforcement or by punishment. Throughout the years, each theorist gains an understanding of their time, and they build upon the theorists from the past. But personality theorists have and will continue to examine people to see their differences and their commonalities. But when we study theories and personalities, it's important for us to consider that each theorist also has the complexity of their own personality, which could add or detract from the perspective of the theory. So since it's important to understand a personality theorist's background, I'm going to give you a brief background of myself so you can understand where my eclectic view comes from. My name is Michelle, but most of my friends and family call me Mickey. I grew up in New England, and I was the youngest of six children. I had married parents that had more traditional roles. I went to a public grammar school in a suburban area, and then I went to a regional urban high school. I was an avid reader and an eclectic student. I was just as comfortable on the stage with the drama club as I was on the track with the track and field team. I later married my high school sweetheart, and I originally went to college in Boston in the 90s, but my husband and I moved, and once we started having our children, I put my schooling on hold to raise them. We have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. One of my sons is in the Army, and 2 of my children are attending local colleges, and one is attending an online high school. I homeschooled my children using an eclectic method, and we also raised goats and chickens and had a small soap business. I closed my soap business a few years ago, and we sold our goat herd, and so I could go back to work and school. I am currently a senior. Actually, this is my final semester, studying psychology at Bay Path University. I'm also a certified professional medical coder, and I currently work as a laboratory services specialist, although I'm currently transitioning into a new role within the hospital, and my new role will be a family advocacy home visitor. I have found myself to be caring, giving, and forgiving. I know that I am honest to a fault, and I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve. I am spiritual, and I have a love of learning. I try to be creative, curious, full of hope, and I value relationships. I know a lot of times I lack perseverance and endurance. I often get bored easily, quick-tempered, and my honesty turns into rude bluntness at times. I believe I enjoy working with people, but I also enjoy the solace of working on a project alone. My passion is for people, and I think that's what continues my interest in the field of psychology. An eclectic approach to personality theory would be the most conducive, since an individual is made up of a unique combination of traits and characteristics. And then, within communities, a whole other blend of people brings together the combination of strengths, weaknesses, and ideas to contribute. The idea of trying to develop a theory of personality within the span of this one class seems unfeasible. A development of a theory would take many years to study, if not a whole lifetime. I also believe that there is more to the human individual that can be boxed into any theory. But when developing one's own personality theory, a good place to start is in the theoretical agreeableness with other theories. Starting with Freud. Freud's provinces of the mind concept is a key foundation to understanding personality. He believed that the mind, or the mental life, was divided into 3 provinces. These provinces are the id, the ego, and the superego. The id acknowledges our biological factors such as hunger, libido, and/or any pleasure-seeking motive. The superego is of the highest ideal of self. Superego has the lofty goals and the perfectionist pursuits. Freud believed that the superego emerged from an interjection or identification with one's parents during the Oedipal stage. So it's like what our parents hold to ideal, like how they want us to behave. We start doing that in our own minds. This may or may not be true that it happens in that stage. However, I would liken to believe that our spirituality and our religious experiences could also influence the superego. I mention ego last on purpose because I believe the ego is what I call the referee of the id and the superego. The ego is where an individual is most of the time. The ego is our center point of reason between the id and the superego. It is important to have high ideals, but it is also important to understand that as individuals, we are human. It is okay to indulge some time with the id, but too often could be detrimental. The provinces of the mind concept is simplified and it's easy to understand and explain. This concept resonates well with what I believe. However, I believe it lacks a level of spirituality. An individual is made up of mind, body, and spirit, and it is important to maintain these three elements of self to obtain health and wellness. A healthy personality would consist of a fine balance of the id and the superego, which would be living mostly in the presence of the ego. If we have too much of the id, then we could mainly be narcissistic, sadist, aggressive, seeking out only our human animalistic passions. If an individual allows a superego to punish their id or their unconscious too much, they may result in anxiety and develop of defense mechanisms. There's so many factors to consider when we analyze behavior, development, and how our personalities are formed. Biology is one factor, in a sense where we're just handed a set of genes. Most early focus on studying individuals was done by physicians, and it basically focused on biology. And that was basically to understand disorders. Early physicians, such as Galen, had a limited understanding of what caused psychological disorders. Hippocrates suggested that psychological disorders may have been caused by both biological and psychological reasons. He explained these reasons with his humoral theory. This theory was very influential during those early times, and Galen and Hippocrates were limited to the knowledge of that time frame, but they still had an understanding that people were a balance or an imbalance of different complexities and elements. Many of the theorists in this category, the ones that do biological evolutionary, they focus on temperaments or an individual's tendencies. But these theories are still missing a piece of what makes up the personality. Environmental factors may also come into play of, how somebody ate while they were pregnant, or how they continue to eat that affects different chemicals in their body. Like if their sugar's too low, it could cause, someone could think it's a temperament, but it's actually possibly a mood swing affected by hormones. What other chemicals that we may be exposed to in our environment, a chemical exposure or other environmental factors could also play in our personality. Erikson's 8 stages of the life cycle is if any certain age-related stages are disrupted, it could have a serious negative effect on that individual's development. The beauty of this theory is that individuals are continually going through important life stages until death. That means our personalities aren't just stagnant, they're continually growing. This Erikson's theory emphasizes the importance of proper parenting and self-care. His theory also may lack, though, an understanding of biological factors. However, if you combine Erikson's theories with one of Adler's in some of the biological evolutionary factors, then, we could really have a solid theory. Adlerian theory is most often called individualist psychology, and it seems to consider some biology, but also suggests a high level for hope and behavioral change. The premise of this theory is that a person's personality is shaped by their desire for success and the attempt to gain superiority. The way they perceive the world also shapes their behaviors, and the personality is unique to that individual, and their behaviors try to be aligned with that behavior. Adlerian theory is broken down into 6 principles that are broken down into even further principles, but the basic 6 principles are striving for success or superiority, subjective perceptions, unity and self-consistency, conscious and unconscious, social interest, and style of life. According to Erikson, an individual will either gain a basic strength during a stage or remain trapped in the weakness. One must gain the strength to move on to the next stage of development. And according to Adler, an unhealthy personality would be maladjusted, and they would either have feelings of over superiority of people or they'd be feeling inferiority. They may also develop safeguarding tendencies, but a healthy personality would strive for success and accomplish their goals. It is common for a theorist to agree on some parts of each other's theories, but it's also common for them to disagree with certain parts of each other's theories. Even Adler, after meeting Freud and forming a psychoanalytical society with him, grew to find that they had many differences and they actually broke apart. I would be less inclined to add Melanie Klein's theory of fantasies to my own personality theory, although I do not want to throw out all of her object relations theory, considering what Watson was able to do with little Albert. But her quick correlation on what an infant is thinking may be a little bit too rash for me, especially considering the relationship she had with her own daughter, unless she considered herself to be a bad breast. There are many things that I value in Jung's theory, but they go a little too mystical for my allegiance. There may also be many things I valued in Allport's and Maslow's theories that would take me a long time to go into. But I agree, I most agree with Rogers when he believed that theories seem to make things too cold and external. And what I believe is, reading all these theories, that I can chew off the meat and I can spit out the bone of these different theories to create my own. This is the benefit of being eclectic. And that's how I approached, as I said earlier, how I homeschooled my children. I took a little bit of this curriculum and a little bit of this curriculum and a little bit of this curriculum. And I think they became, and I even adapted it to each child because I felt that it went along with their personalities and their preferences. Because I believe that you could also take an eclectic approach when determining how to help a person in times of distress. Some people may like different things that they find comforting to them. So when it comes to theories and personalities, one size does not fit all when it comes to humans. The beauty of humans is that we have a plethora of differences, but also a multitude of similarities. Uniqueness can make an individual feel special, but it can also make an individual feel isolated. Similarities can make a person feel included, or similarities can make a person feel too ordinary. Psychologists still have a lot to learn about the different factors that influence our personalities. But personality tests and examinations of individuals can help them gain a better understanding of personality types. The Russian novelist Vladimir Nabokov once wrote, "Neither in environment nor in heredity can I find the exact instrument that fashioned me. The anonymous roller that pressed upon my life a certain intricate watermark whose unique design becomes visible when the lamp of art is made to shine through life's fool's cap." I'm very impressed by this quote, but I'm also inclined to agree. Psychology is considered both an art and a science because it combines the scientific and technical skills of research and application with abstract thinking and questioning. This delicate balance of skill and art is what makes it so appealing to me. It is great to gain an understanding into the mind, but it is also okay to marvel in the mysteries of life. There are still so many mysteries in life, and personalities are one of them. Perhaps part of the mystery is that individuals are selective in which parts of their personality they are willing to reveal or conceal. But overall, humans are an eclectic bundle of traits and characteristics within their body, mind, and spirit. But humans also have the ability to adjust their behaviors, manipulate genetics as well as their health, and adapt to their environment as well as affect change in their environment. Continued exploration and understanding of the personality is important. The findings can be useful when one is making important decisions concerning their own relationships or their family's needs. The more understanding of the formation of personality can also be useful to psychologists and educators. It can help aid effective developmental and mental health programs, as well as preventative programs. And continued exploration encourages the desire for people to educate themselves and others on the importance of health, behaviors, and personal development. That is the end of my presentation, and I really hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you.